Metrolinx agreed to spend nearly $250 million to get its troubled Crosstown light rail line back on track without proof from the project's builders that the additional costs were legitimate, Ontario's Auditor-General has found. In an annual report issued Wednesday, Auditor-General Bonnie Lysyk revealed new details about the link's Metrolinx, the province's transit agency. Had to go to get assurances the Crosstown would be finished on time in 2021. The details come at a time when the province, led by Premier Doug Ford, has been arguing for months that Toronto cannot build transit efficiently and effectively, and that this role should be taken over by Queen's Park. Ms. Lysyk's report does show that changing transit plans cost hundreds of millions over the last decade, buttressing Mr. Ford's argument that decisive action is needed. And she lays out details about former Transportation Minister Stephen Del Duca's intervention in Metrolinx's transit planning, illustrating the agency's willingness to bend to its political masters. But she also paints a picture of Metrolinx spending more than expected, at times without sufficient oversight or planning. She found the agency agreed to a higher price per transit vehicle to settle a contract dispute, allowed consultant costs to burgeon and permitted work to start, and in some cases be finished, before being approved. Ms. Lysyk looked in detail at the Crosstown LRT, now being built along Eglinton Avenue in Midtown Toronto, and found evidence of a contract so weak that Metrolinx couldn't hold the consortium of private construction companies to account for looming delays. The Crosstown is one of the largest transit projects in Canada. It is being built by a consortium of AC Estragados, Econ Group, Elistron and SNC-Lavalin as a public-private partnership. While the model in theory requires the private sector to absorb risk, the question of who is responsible for problems can be contentious. According to the auditor, Metrolinx had limited remedies as long as the builders claimed the project would be finished on time. Metrolinx had increasing concerns about hitting the 2021 deadline but did not pursue them due to the consortium's assurances. Then, in February 2018, the consortium filed a notice of delay, seeking a one-year contract extension and compensation for delays it alleged were the fault of Metrolinx. Metrolinx and the construction consortium eventually settled for $237 million and a renewed commitment to finishing the project by September of 2021. The auditor found, though, that the consortium's claim did not include evidence that Metrolinx was responsible for the delays. Metrolinx agreed to a settlement amount, but did not ask the private consortium for documentation to support the claim amount, the auditor concluded. In its written response, Metrolinx pledged stronger contracts in the future. Should further claims be submitted, Metrolinx will ensure the claim review process linking the allegations to the details observed on the ground is thoroughly documented. When revealing the settlement earlier this year, Metrolinx would not say how much extra money was involved but noted that the project's overall construction budget of $5.4 billion had not grown. Agency CEO Phil Verster said in September that it would be incorrect to say the project had become more expensive, even though more of its contingency fund has been soaked up than was the case a few months earlier. The contingency is in anticipation of costs that will be required, he told the Globe and Mail then. You know that the probability of spending this money is really high, you just don't assign it to a line item because you don't know which of the 700, or however many risks you've got on the contract is actually going to materialize. This settlement was only one issue Ms. Lysyk raised about regional transit. She noted that Metrolinx had ordered light rail vehicles without anticipating that plans might change. They did, including their replacement of the Scarborough LRT with a subway extension, and the required number of vehicles dropped. At the same time, production problems with vehicle manufacturer Bombardier were causing headaches. The agency eventually agreed to slash the order for 182 vehicles to only 76. But in return, the agency paid more per vehicle, the unit cost of which rose from $5.8 million to $6.2 million, a $30 million premium. And there were other cost inflations. Metrolinx estimated in 2014 it would cost $19 million to compensate the Toronto Transit Commission for additional operating costs related to Crosstown building disruptions. The auditor found, though, that Metrolinx had not consulted the TTC before determining that $19 million has been exhausted and, in 2016, the TTC projected costs of $72.5 million. The Crosstown was initially supposed to be ready in the fall of 2020. Metrolinx added a year to the timeline in 2015, with the Minister of Transportation at the time saying the delay would help mitigate disruption. The light rail line is now scheduled to start running late in 2021, though many transit watchers expect that timeline to slip again.